where we gonna start today, bruh? This is a crazy one. And I'm just here to report the news on y'all, you know what I'm saying? Because it's looking kind of crazy out here, man. Some things, man, are being misreported early already, but, man, I felt the need just to jump on here and talk about this topic because it's so hot right now and because it's breaking news. And, man, we got time today, man. So today, I want to talk about what's going on with this Sean Diddy Combs trial, man. So it looks like Sean Diddy Combs might have dodged a bullet. Now, not a bullet literally, but actually dodged the bullet by dodging some serious charges in this RICO case. Now, I feel like DJ Academics and a lot of the cats out there, especially some of the bigger news sources, have done a really good job of covering this day to day, going over all the details. But man, when the verdict drops, you know, that's when things really, really get serious. So I want to talk today about what's going on as far as this verdict, man, that's got everybody shocked, man. To be honest, I was split. I didn't know how this thing was going to go. I don't know if Diddy was going to get the maximum sentence. I didn't know if Diddy was going to end up, you know, going out real bad with this situation. But to me, it just seemed like, man, based on everything that they had and they was throwing at him and everything that was being reported, it felt like it was a weak case. I'm going to be for real, man.
Bruh.
I know. That's what people are thinking, man. They're like, man, how could you say that? The feds don't waste no time. The feds, they got this whatever, you know, a rate of conviction or whatnot. But man, to be completely honest, when I look at this situation, I look at a situation where they was throwing everything at him and it just wasn't sticking as far as the public was concerned. Not to say that Diddy wasn't accused of some very serious things out there, but man, all in all, to me, this just didn't seem like, man, it seemed like he might get the lesser of all the charges, or he might mess around and actually beat this if possible. You know what I mean? And that looks like the situation that we at today, where Diddy is looking at like he beat the most serious charges in this federal RICO case, man. So they've actually come to the verdict in this situation. And you know, this isn't sentencing or anything like that. And I see a lot of all the bigger channels and things are talking about it. But man, it looks like, man, Diddy might have actually beat this. For the streets purposes, Diddy beat this, man. I know a lot of people are going to say like, man, he didn't beat this. No, for the streets, he beat this, bruh. Or what the streets would consider. Now, I'm not excusing any of the behavior or anything that Diddy is being accused of, once again. But to be honest, man, it's looking like when it comes to him in this case, they came at it with a weak case. I mean, everybody said that, from everybody. I've seen Vlad interviews, he's talked to people. I've seen all sorts of people talking about the situation. And everybody was kind of on the same accord about the case being pretty weak that they had against Diddy. And it looks like when it comes to the verdict, somebody on that jury was holding the jury up for a while. And they felt the same thing. They felt like, I don't know about this case. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about this. I don't know about that. And they was feeling like the rest of us, man. So let's get to what's been reported so far, man. And I can tell this is going to be a short live because, man, people ain't used to me going live. But if you ever come in here, if you watch this later on, if I clip this up, go ahead and make sure you drop your boy that like button, you know what I'm saying? Or drop your boy a like. You know what I mean? So let's see what they've said so far. All right, so here we have it, man. Now, as you can see, this is what they have so far in the case against Diddy as far as what's being said. So it says, in this headline, news drop that Sean Diddy Combs acquitted on most serious counts, convicted on prostitution charges. So basically, he's avoided the most serious charges in the case and has been convicted on the prostitution charge, which is somehow one of the lesser charges in this case, right? Now, Sean Diddy Combs was found not guilty of the most serious charges he faced. So if the most serious charges he faced is looking like he's going to walk on those. I don't know, man. I don't know. Is it wrong to clap for that? You know what I'm saying? Y'all tell me. You know what I mean? All right.
Stop it. Get some help.
There we go. There you go. I had to make sure my sounds is. Sean Diddy Combs was acquitted on sex trafficking and racketeering after a closely followed high-profile federal trial in New York City. He was convicted on 2 lesser prostitution charges. The split verdict was read on Wednesday, July 2nd. He faces up to 10 years in prison. Now, 10 years in prison is a lot for the prostitution charges, but I mean, you know, if they feel like he's that bad of a dude and they feel like, you know, that's how much time, because I mean, the prostitution charges, we'll get to that in a second, but they encompass basically him paying, not actually sending somebody out there to be, right? Now, had Combs been convicted of the charges of sex trafficking, which is sending somebody out there to do something, you know what I mean, or racketeering, he could have spent the rest of his life in prison. So regardless of what you hear about today, Diddy got a date. Like at the end of the day, he's got a date. He's gonna avoid spending the rest of his life in prison. You know, so be it that he makes it out of prison alive and everything intact, right? So regardless of all that, Diddy has a date and he should be all right. You know what I mean? Oh, all right is a stretch now because he still got to do Fed time. But for him and his camp, this is probably the best news they could get besides a not guilty all the way. Because basically he was found not guilty of RICO. So if RICO, the most serious thing or the thing they say they always can nail you down to, he was found not guilty of. You know what I mean? So it continues by saying he could have spent the rest of his life in prison. Instead, it's a massive reprieve for the music mogul who has spent the past several months behind bars and whose public reputation has taken a massive hit in wake of the charges. Now, I saw a TikTok that was hilarious, man. This dude was talking about, it feels like with this case, they put this case out there just to ruin P. Diddy's reputation. You know what I'm saying? Now, Combs' star-powered defense team successfully argued that prosecutors had failed to prove the serious charges. Over the course of the trial, which began in May, prosecutors called 34 witnesses over the course of 29 days of testimony. Among them was Cassandra Cassie Ventura, Combs' ex, with whom he was in a relationship with for 11 years. Now, Cassie obviously was a star witness in this situation, as opposed to one of the other ladies that spoke in the trial as well, who basically told her testimony of what happened to her. And a lot of people have alluded to online that that lady, who also told her testimony in this situation or took the stand, was 50 Cent's baby mom. Now, I haven't seen anything official to confirm that, but that's what a lot of people have been saying in this case, right? Now, prosecutors sought to prove that she had been coerced into participating in freak-offs, which were elaborate sex performances with male sex workers. Bunch of nastiness in this situation.
Bruh.
Nasty, nasty, nasty. You know what I mean? Even the stories that we heard about all this, man, everything that came out of it was just pure nastiness, man. Everything involved it was gross, man. It was a gross situation. You know what I mean? Now, Ventura, who testified while 8.5 months pregnant, lasted several days and detailed allegations of abuse and detailed descriptions of freak-offs. Now, when they came out with the description of the freak-offs, a lot of that stuff was gross as well. Because the dude, the Punisher, went on an interview tour. He went to talking to people, and he was, the name is disturbing. I always want to say pause when I even say his name, the Punisher. Because dude was one of the people involved in the freak-offs that was actually one of the people who was, you know, who got to interact and entertain all this nastiness, right? So he went on to talk about all the dealings and the freak-offs and all that. And he goes by the nickname The Punisher. He got a book coming out. And he seemed a little off, man. Anybody who's seen the dude, The Punisher, noticed that something was off about dude a little bit, man. He's just, I don't know, odd dude, man, to me. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with dude, but that's a weird profession to be in. And, you know, for him to be just talking so nonchalant, I don't know, man. I just felt like, man, these cats was playing a dangerous game, because if Diddy is the bad boy that they say he is, no pun intended, man, I wouldn't want to be snitching on him. I wouldn't want to be testifying. I wouldn't want to be doing none of that mess. Because what about retribution? What about him coming back? You know what I mean? And it looks like in this situation, Diddy gonna be back on the streets. Knock on wood.
Bruh.
All right, man. So Combs' attorneys had argued throughout the trial that the sexual encounters had been consensual and introduced several exhibits, including text messages, into evidence intended to reinforce that argument. It seems like the jury was on his side. They was like, well, we looked at everything. We feel like what we've seen from these freak-offs, that a lot of this stuff was consensual. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that some of it wasn't. You know what I mean? Some of it might have been. I'm not trying to diminish anybody's situation or whatever, but it looks like that's what the jury felt in this case. Now, though Combs was acquitted on all counts, he still faces several dozen lawsuits accusing him of sexual misconduct, meaning his legal battles would continue. Still, being found not guilty in federal court is a massive victory for Combs, who now sports gray hair, having spent months leading up to his highly anticipated trial behind bars. Wow, man. I don't know, man. What do y'all say in this situation? I mean, this is crazy. So let me go ahead, because there's some live reporting also that's being put out there that I want to see. Let's see this.
Standing up at the MTV Awards, being awarded the Global Icon Award. He was being given Lifetime Achievement Award. So this conviction will tarnish his reputation going forward. But what's left to see now is just what happens when it comes to his sentencing.
And we await that, and of course also this deliberations that are now taking place.
All right, so everybody pretty much shocked that, you know, he's been not set free, but he's actually been found not guilty on the RICO charge. You know what I mean? So the RICO charge, for him to say he beat the RICO, he could actually say that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why that's funny. I just felt like saying it was. You know what I mean?
Bruh.
All right, man. So let's continue.
Whether he'll be released on a $1 million bond. Just when it comes to the verdicts, and I'm going to go through them one more time. It's just worth reminding our audience who are potentially joining us that this huge figure within the music industry and across, I think you can say arguably across.
Yeah, the news lady is at a loss for words. Nobody thought he'd be found innocent on all, well, not guilty. I'll say not guilty on all the serious charges, and found, you know what I'm saying, guilty on the lesser charges.
Across all genres, not just hip hop, not just rap. He was such a huge figure. Sean Diddy Combs, he was accused of this sex trafficking operation, but he has been found not guilty of racketeering conspiracy, not guilty of the sex trafficking of Cassandra Ventura, not guilty of the sex trafficking of a woman who was named as Jane, used a pseudonym was named, but he was found.
Now, the woman that was named Jane Doe is said to be 50 Cent's baby mom. Now, I don't know if it is, but because I've never seen anything official confirm that, but that's what they saying out there. And if you ain't here, man, make sure you hit that like button. I see we have only a few people. I don't go live on this channel a lot, but man, I appreciate you who are showing up. You the real MVP, but let's continue.
Found guilty of the transportation to engage in prostitution related to Cassandra Ventura and guilty of the transportation to engage in prostitution relating to the woman who was known under the pseudonym of Jane. The racketeering allegations this is where the jury had the biggest difficulty. They didn't come to a decision immediately. We knew that there were four. They came to a decision on 4 of those charges yesterday, but we awaited today for that 4th decision, that 4th verdict.
All right, so for the 4th verdict, they had waited. So it looks like, man, there was one juror, or there was some jurors who were holding out, and they were kind of at a deadlock situation, not an official deadlock, you know what I mean? But they were trying to figure out who was going to be, or if he was going to be found guilty of some of those most serious charges, and dude beat them, you know what I mean?
Found him not guilty. His defense, they continuously sought to undermine that allegation of racketeering.
Absolutely. So let's just recap and just say, you know, what is racketeering? It's a charge that's long been associated with mob or mafia bosses. And it's this idea that Combs allegedly was behind a criminal enterprise that had sex trafficked women, that he had relied on his network of employees to both carry out and conceal a number of crimes. And the prosecution raised that charge.
Now, the arson charge that they're accusing him of was for what Kid Cudi went to or testified for. You know what I'm saying? Against, he testified as that basically Diddy had found out that Cassie and Kid Cudi was messing around, so he said, forget it, man. I'm going to go firebomb his car, which is crazy, man, because the pictures of the Porsche and stuff that got firebombed, like somebody was really trying to get at him. So I don't doubt it, you know what I mean, that might have happened, but they just didn't believe and couldn't prove that it was Diddy. So he was not guilty on that charge as well, man. He looking like Teflon Don out here right now.
Charge had carried a maximum sentence of life in prison. But you're right, we had this partial verdict reached yesterday where we knew that the jury had come to a decision on sex trafficking and also transportation to engage in prostitution, but not racketeering.
Rihanna, we're going to just hear some statements now outside the court.
And we're just pleased that that he still faces substantial jail time. All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
See that look right there? That's the look of defeat. Seen it many times. Remember the Young Thug case when his attorney looked when his attorney looked back at the DA, they looked defeated. This guy looks defeated too, man, because them federal prosecutors do not like to lose these cases. They put a lot on the line. You're using the federal budget, you know what I'm saying, which is huge. It's not like they're going to miss it. But, dog, you're putting your career on the line sometimes trying to try these cases because you want to move up in the world. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the face of defeat. Because somehow Diddy done made this is a win. I know people are gonna be like, oh well, he's still facing 10 years and he's like 60 years old or something, or 50 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? He's still facing 10 years. Shoot, that's better than life. If he would have been found guilty on those bigger charges, those greater charges, he'd be looking at life. So this federal prosecutor is hurting right now. He's like, God dang, how in the world did we lose this? Probably has to do with the fact that he hired that lawyer from Atlanta that got off Young Thug in him, man, to be real with you.
Doug.
Brian Steele. Let me be respectful. Brian Steele is that attorney's name. And he's actually a part of Diddy's team, too.
Wigdor, W-I-G-D-O-R. Well, each is faces up to 10 years on each. I'm not sure what the sentencing guidelines are given the various different things, but I'll leave that up to the government and the defense to argue. But I feel confident in saying he still faces substantial incarceration.
How will you feel if he walks out on bail?
Well, that's up to the judge. I don't have a personal vested interest in this case. Whatever the appropriate thing to do under the law is.
That would be crazy. If Diddy got time served and walked out on bail, that'd be crazy, bruh. You played the game, bruh. Money do a lot, don't it? This is crazy.
What should be done, and at the end of the day, he needs to be sentenced pursuant to the guidelines and pursuant to what the law is. My understanding of that is that he faces significant incarceration. So thank you very much. Thank you.
So that was Cassandra Ventura's lawyer there speaking. Rihanna, obviously, there's going to be disappointment.
Oh, my bad. That wasn't the federal prosecutor. That was actually Cassie's lawyer. You know what I'm saying? So Cassie's lawyer was speaking and was the guy who was basically saying, you know, what he said.
Isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, the statement we just heard from Cassandra Ventura's lawyer is that they're just pleased that he faces substantial jail time. Now, she was the prosecution's star witness, arguably the person who kick-started this process. I mean, if we go back all the way to November 2023,
Cassie was definitely the star witness in this case.
Filed a very public lawsuit accusing Combs of sexual abuse, of having trapped her in a cycle of violence, but also these free.
All right, man. So enough of that, man. I don't know, man. Y'all tell me what y'all think, man. We gonna do that. Let me look at one last story, man. and then I want to look at the social media reaction. So in a split verdict, Sean Diddy Combs found guilty on 2 counts, not guilty of sex trafficking and racketeering. The way that they phrase this, it doesn't say that, like, the real, what's really going on here is the fact that he got found guilty on them charges that was the most serious, the charges he would have seen the most time, which is the real story in this situation, to keep it real with you, man. But let's continue. It says, in split verdict, Sean Diddy Combs found guilty on 2 counts, not guilty of sex trafficking, racketeering. The fallen mogul was found guilty of transportation to engage in prostitution, but not guilty on sex trafficking and racketeering charges. So no matter how you chop that up, man, he beat his RICO. People are gonna be like, he ain't beat the RICO. Nah, man, dude beat that RICO. Diddy is an interesting case, man. Integral figure in hip hop for a very, very long time here, and it looks like he's gonna get a date. He's gonna be back on the streets. So if somebody was out there talking crazy, man, I wonder how they gonna maneuver or whatnot, man. I mean, and that's not to say that like was said in that news report. Somebody, the judge could say, or they could say in sentencing, you know what, time served, out on bail, any of those possibilities is up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, that could happen. And that attorney was like, hey, that's not his concern. Just as long as they get a conviction on something, it's up to the judge and up to the court. Will he get the 10 years? Probably. You know, they'll probably give him the 10 years. And, you know, with the feds, you got to do pretty much all that. They ain't got as many programs as the state or whatnot. But that's still, man, no matter how you chop it up, that is a wild outcome to this whole Diddy Combs situation. After all this dragged out in the media, after all that we've seen, all this time, people talking, and all the things that they've talked about in this case, wild ending, to say the least, man. Wild, man. I want to find the right sound effect for this one. Now, with that, man, y'all do me a favor. If you watch this later, man, I'm going to just leave this up as a live that we clip. But, man, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell and share this if you like, man. And we out of here. Peace.